One of the things we can do in DFMA 2025 is use the custom user data library to understand what the impact of tariffs on our parts being produced overseas might be. So here I'm going to load the Design for Manufacture software, and I'm going to load in a CAD model of a forging. And we're going to assume that this forging is currently being made in China. And so once the CAD model loads here, I'll show you a brief view of the part. There it is. You can see it's got a hole drilled in it there, but we're just going to forge that in China to see what we come up with as a cost. So here, let's say we want to make 10,000 of these parts. I'm going to select a process and a material. I'm going to choose from the manufacturing process list hot forging. I'm going to choose China as my production region, and then let's make it out of a high strength low alloy steel. When I say OK, I'm going to get a cost. Now, as you know, you could refine some of these inputs to see what the full impact would be on the cost, but there's a rough estimate of the cost of a casting. I do need to add the finished machining, so I can take advantage of the dynamic costing machining in DFMA 2025, and I can tell it here that I've got I want to do some secondary machining, and then I just want to drill one hole in this part. And when I do that and click OK, I get some information about what the machining cost of this part is likely going to be. So we're going to add about 22 cents to drill that hole in the bottom of it. Again, that cost is in China. So here in the tab, I'm going to indicate this is Chinese manufacture. And I see here I'm looking at a total cost of around $10, including the cost of amortized tooling. I can then copy this analysis tab and paste it, and I can see what the impact would be if we were to add a tariff. So I'm going to call this with tariff, and I'm going to choose a different manufacturing process profile. And so here I've predefined one with tariffs that has a custom user data library associated with it. And when I say OK, you can see I have this additional button here that will let me say I want to add a tariff. It comes up with a default of 25%, so let's say a 25% tariff on this part. If I click calculate, you can now see that includes the cost of the tariff, $2.23, and gives me some new totals. And what I would be interested in knowing is how would that compare to US manufacture. So I can copy this analysis tab again and paste it, and then I would call this USA. So if I want to avoid the tariff and produce this part domestically, I can change this to North America and say OK. And the software recalculates the cost for me for US manufacture. And so what I can do then is use some of the outputs in the tool. I'll use this cost totals graph, and we'll go ahead here and we will bring this into the window, make this a little bit bigger so you can see it, and then I'll stack the bars and we'll compare the three. So here's my cost to forge this in China currently. Here's my cost to forge this in China with the tariffs, so $9.96 going to $12.19, and this would represent the cost of manufacture in the US, $15.08 roughly for that cost of production. Now, obviously there's some things missing from this. We haven't included the cost of shipping from China, so we could add that in if we wanted to. There would be, however, some shipping costs associated with domestic manufacture as well, assuming that we weren't forging it in the same building that we were using it in. So there's some additional unknowns here, but just to get a very quick understanding of what the impact of some of these things that we might be seeing in the next couple of years in terms of tariffs might be, the DFMA software can be very helpful in helping you quickly understand what the impact of these things would be on production costs.